Yo, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Zai. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I haven't been doing YouTube because I've been working and shit. I got two highlights, but yeah, I'm a security, you know what I mean? I was just like tripping out on these two videos I had seen. One of them, the homie had shot me and I had refused to watch it just due to the fact that the guy that was doing the video then had dealings with trash and suppose he used to be a solid homie, so I just didn't respect that Walter, so I didn't watch his shit. I never really followed the fool in the first place. That's why you'll never hear, if you go on any of my videos, I've never mentioned it, Walter. It's just because I've already known the how Walters could be condescending and act as if they're cool, but they're really low-key racist. Now, this particular Walter was like acting as if he understood the plight of the black southerner and kind of put that narrative out there like nobody liked us, and I'm just gonna dispel that. At the end of the day, you will run into individuals that don't have no real love for you. They grew up in areas such as his where they don't have really any black fools, and when they do, there's always a certain sense of jealousy and a camaraderie and the hate of certain people. Now, I'm just gonna be honest. When it comes to being a black southerner, yeah, you're up against it. You're always gonna be up against it just due to the fact of who you are and who you run with. But as far as like us being victims, that's never happened. Like the only time you really see a black homie go out like crazy is usually it's the dudes from YA because they got a train of thought like fuck all my enemies and I'm not listening to nobody. Like they're mostly wild, the YA babies, but that's pretty much any homie. But a lot of black homies were with that type of issue, and those are usually the ones that end up crashing out when they're dealing with individuals such as him. Now, what dude failed to explain is it's individuals such as itself that be sending homies like me on missions because they don't really like us in the first place. Like when it comes to the cities, Los Angeles have always been a certain way. They've always had a lot of black homies, so it's really nothing new. And for the majority of the time, it's real love there. They understand what it is to represent. Like I've went through the whole thing like back in like the 90s, like it, whatever came through, and basically if you're a black homie and you're not gonna represent when you hit them higher levels, to just go ahead and step off now. And some neighborhoods took it upon themselves to jump their homies out. They didn't really give him a chance to, or a choice to see if he wanted to represent or not. It's just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. It's a blight on the neighborhood if this dude does decide to, you know what I mean? And a lot of Ottomans weren't having it. They're like, nah, if you've been running with us this long, there ain't no switching up. Regardless if you haven't been to Y or camp and the county, like, nah, you either represent, and some fools just didn't want to deal with it, so they courted their homies out. A lot of black homies had got courted out because of that, but then you had lots of such as myself that refused and literally told the homies, like, if you jump me out, I'm just gonna start the neighborhood again, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And it's just because you have been through it so much and you put in so much work for the neighborhood, you refuse to do that. Like any real black homie that was really with the business, he refused. Some that just like, got mad, fuck these fools. Like those fools weren't really with it from the gate. Because if you really was about that stepping, then how you gonna let a fool just remove you from the neighborhood knowing that it wasn't mandated? Fool just took it on themselves to do that. Well, this particular Walter made it. He painted the picture as if we just got it bad. And I'm gonna tell you, in a lot of cases, there's a lot of homies. I had a homie that this fool on every birthday got sent on a mission, and that's because even though he was a rider, the Walter that had the yard didn't like him. So he got put on every mission, but he never turned it down because that was the type of individual he was. There's another black homie that this fool, every time he got out the shoe, he was back on the mission until certain Walters had to let it be known that they better not send this fool back there again. I can give you multiple examples of black homies that have been put in bad situations, but at the end of the day, we know what we signed up for. We know that when we walk in that bullpen, when we walk in that cage, more than likely there's going to be a lot of fools that don't like it, especially when you're dealing with no shots at different areas, but when you're dealing with other areas outside of Los Angeles, yeah, you're gonna run into that type of opposition because there's some fools that they've been in, that racism has been ingrained in them. There's more fools like to be like, oh well, uh, it's a LA thing, and it's not, dog. That shit. Like when it comes to like the these skins and all that, yeah, there might be a certain accord, but there's a lot of homies that just ain't really with that in LA and certain outcomes. But there's certain areas that they're neck and neck. These fools are getting busted with these fools left and right. So they take on these characteristics. I've ran into homies that got fucking swastikas on them, and it's like, do you even know what that is? But they're so blinded by, oh well, this and this and that. They don't really know what's up. But I'm just gonna dispel it. This myth. When you're a black Southern, you know what you sign up for. If you hit them cages, you're up against the wall. It's just what it is. Now it comes down to whether you can push past these barriers, because uh, besides the fact that you run into some homies that really don't fuck with you, you're gonna run into a lot of them that do. Like I had a lot of good homies from upstate, like that were solid, and we would be road dogging it on the yard because these fools were with the business and they know what it is. So it's like we would click, and then I had homies from West LA that we would click with. I was clicking with fools from LA more than Avaya because for the most part in Hawaii, a lot of fools didn't like us anyway. Like, and it's crazy because supposedly we're a small neighborhood, which is true, but fools, there's a lot of us that didn't like us, mostly because the city of Sun Valley got a reputation for knocking fools down. Like that goes without saying. Like you can't mention Sun Valley without knowing what type of dirt that has went on with the city. Like, it's so people hated the city. They it's for reasons, and I ain't gonna say what Vargas did what, but it's that's there's a reason why the hate is there. But now I'm gonna get off that. We are not victims. If anything, dog, it takes a lot to be a black Southern. We gotta repel a lot of stuff, but we're just built like that. Most black homies that you run into are just built like that. I'm not talking about some of this new generation that they're still like with some weird ass stilo, but I'm talking about fools that have been doing it for a long time. Uh, really with the function, like, and sometimes too much with the function to where we got to be told to slow down, and that happens too. Like when you be out here gangbanging, you doing too much, sometimes you get a little whisper in your ear like, hey, you need to slow down. Why? Because you're removing fools from the map, and it's not your gente. That's the key thing. It's not your gente. Fools that just really with the gangbanging didn't care. It's like, fool, remove all of them. But the fools that try to make it a race thing, they're like, oh, this fool didn't knock down like about 5 of our gente, even though they're enemies. Like, it's a common threat. But that's besides the point. But I really wanted to also get on this other one where this dude, he did an interview with my boy's dad, 16 to Life, and dude was supposed to be like a Southerner that turned Crip, and there was consequences, and it was just like his whole story was so and it wasn't on the interview, it was on the dude that was being interviewed. Like his whole stilo, like he was constantly trying to make motherfuckers think that he was greater than what he was. Like, I wasn't like them, these other black Southerners. Like, I really was like the Mexican, like this and this and that. But then I'm like, this motherfucker got do-rags on his head. If you were a black homie and you're really with that Chicano movement, like you were really with the, like everything that had to do with the double S, and you were like a black cholo, then you move different. You cannot take that and weed it out. You can't blend that out. You can't do nothing. That shit is with you for life because you really wholeheartedly joined it and participated in it and just felt like you were that person. Like, you can't blend that out, and you can't make a dude flip-flop. Dudes flip-flop because they really weren't with it, dog. Like, it's... So when I seen that story, I kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to speak on this because that's bull. Dude trying to make it seem like, oh, well, they told me, and then I start seeing certain things. Nah. Since freaking juvenile hall, you see shit. You see some homies are racist as hell, but it don't matter because at the end of the day, you're there representing your vodka. Like, fools trying to make up these elaborate stories on how they were up against it. Dude, I know fools right now that ain't alive because they were up against it, because riots cracked off and they refused to yield and they got deaded. The same way, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so much... hypocrisy in this. Like even being from a black gang, like fools will get mad at you that you're a southerner and you're really representing for the Mexicanos, mad that you ain't over there helping them kill their own people and then go to prison. Half the time motherfuckers running fades in the county jail. There ain't no rest for the weary. It The fools be like, oh yeah, you're over here. It's harder to be a black southerner than it would to be a Crip or a Blood. Fighting has never been an issue. I grew up with sangre, so we did activity. We fought. Like it's one of those things that comes with, if you're black, 9 out of 10, you didn't ran phase with half the neighborhood because that's how families got down. Oh yeah, you know what, man? I bet you my relative will beat you up. What? Get that fool. And then it's older dudes putting kids against kids, teens against teens, because they want to see where you're at with it. They like that activity. So that was nothing. But fools mad because you don't take part in genocide, and it's like it upsets them. And then you got homies that be upset that the fools that you're knocking down are not they're of their race, not yours. So they kind of feel some type of way about it. It starts removing that whole, oh, you know, it's gangbanging, and it becomes more about race, which was always ludicrous to me, because it's like they essentially did the same thing that the Bloods and Crips are doing to each other, constantly removing each other and try to play that whole race thing. Like that was always funny to me. To me, the whole thing was about loyalty and gangbanging. It's always been about that. But this video is not about that. I'm bored and I just wanted to talk about this subject. But it's like, don't let fools make you think that we're victims, because at the end of the day, dog, we probably some of the most aggressive that you gonna run into. Black Southerners are aggressive as hell. Like it's just like, and like I said, sometimes we get talking to because we take it a little bit too far. And I've seen some black Southerners step away from the game because they didn't like the way it was stacked up against them. Because it's stacked up against you, dog. You go to prison, dog. You got half the fools that don't like you, some that don't want to deal with you, and then others that got righteous love for you. So you might be up against it. I've been a fool try to twist me when I hit reception. Basically try to get me to go on a kamikaze mission. The way he worded it, and thought I was stupid. And when I gave it back to him, I said, you know what, man, fuck it. I said, you want that? Okay, yeah, I'll go with you. You spoke like it's me and you going on a mission, but now you sending me with some other fool. Like, nah, fool, I'll go if you going. That fool hurry up and broke that shit down. It didn't matter because we still got off with the Bulldogs right after. But that's all I'm saying. Like, don't let these PC channels and these trash ass channels give you some false narrative. Yeah, if you're black and you're a southerner, you're going to be up against it. Yeah, you're going to run up. Some fools want to send you on missions because just who you are. They would rather send you than their own people. It is what it is. You knew that when you got into it. You knew that it was just going to be like that. You're a guest, dog. That's the one thing as a black southerner, dog, you got to realize you're a guest, dog. And when you're staying in somebody's house, you got to play by certain rules. You got to act a certain way. You got to be accustomed to certain things. That's how you stay in the house. But it's your choice to enter that domain. They give you the chance. Okay, boom, here you go. It's on you to mess it up. If you can't stand the pressure, don't step the fuck in the kitchen. It is what it is, dog. That's why we are who we are. And that's why when fools try to talk as if we're victims, nah, dog, we press hard lines, dog. If it's a riot and it's the biggest fool, we going head up with that fool, because that's just what we do, dog. Like, we gonna set an example every time, dog. Like, if we could really act like we wanted to, we'd be sending demos on homies left and right, because we're just built like that, dog. And it's not saying we're better, but you have to be aggressive, dog, if you're gonna be a black southerner. It just goes without saying. That's why when fools be like, oh, you're a little bit too extra, nah, that's just the way we are. It's in us to be extra the fuck out, because we know we gotta set a demo. Any homie test, we gotta set a demo. Like, it ain't no, like, that's why fools be getting got, because as soon as you cross, we smash, and it's just what it is. But don't believe this false narrative of these fools that come from spots. You can see the condescension in the fool's tone when he's talking about black Southerners. But it's funny, like, it's like I remember a homie, and I won't say what prison or which home it is. This fool had the whole fucking, he didn't just have a yard, he had the whole fucking prison. And dudes was jealous at that, and they were constantly trying to get him removed because they wanted to have it. They didn't believe a black dude should be running the whole entire prison. But it didn't matter because it was who he knew, and he had been putting in work since like early days. Most fools will probably know who I'm talking about, but I'm just not gonna mention his name because that's just not how we get down. But yeah, there's a lot of fools that in key positions. It's just certain things that prevented it, and mostly fools from other organs that couldn't see it and didn't want to see it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm about to get back to work. I got to do this patrol, but yeah, uh, it ain't easy, but it is what it is, dog. We just built different. Sad, huh?